Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. So I was talking to my nephew and he gave me a really good idea that I'm going to do today for you. So he was talking about how a lot of my favorite movies that I talk about were on my top 10 favorite movies list were pretty modern movies within like the last 10 to 15 years for the most part. And he's like, you should do a top 10 classic movies list. And I was like, that's a really great idea. But I'm going to expand upon that and actually break it up by decades. So today I'm giving you my top 10 movies of the 1960s. Groovy, baby. So once again, this is my personal list, so feel free to, disagree with me, but I am very switched on, turned up, and plugged in, so I know what I'm talking about. Right on. Let's get into it.
Number 10, To Kill a Mockingbird.
So this is one I felt I had to put on the list. It is just a classic movie, so much so it's at least part of my public schooling curriculum to not only read the book but to see the movie. It followed the source material very well, and a very classic tale of race relations, and just very well made, very well acted. Just a solid movie. I mean, it's just a really solid, great movie. You can't help but enjoy it at least a little bit, right?
And I swore never to read again after To Kill a Mockingbird gave me no useful advice on killing mockingbirds. It did teach me not to judge a man based on the color of his skin, but what good does that do me?
Number 9, 101 Dalmatians.
So my relationship with this movie actually began when it was re-released for the 30th anniversary in 1991. And it's a testament to this movie that it became a cultural icon again 30 years later, where everyone wanted to name their dog Pongo, everyone wanted a Dalmatian. It became a huge cultural event 30 years after it came out. Like, this is just a solid, well-animated, well-done Disney movie, and it's just the classic tale of animals versus the crazy rich lady that wants to murder them for their fur, which is just an amazing classic tale we've seen so many times. Wait.
Number 8, Planet of the Apes.
The staple of the B-movie, the sci-fi movie, the schlocky movie, Planet of the Apes. I feel like this is the original B-movie. I know I'm wrong, but I just feel like this is the classic, sci-fi B-movie, just schlock movie, but it's so fantastic, well overacted, but delightfully so. Charlton Heston at his Charlton Hestiness. And it's just classic. It's been ingrained in our culture so much. I mean, we've remade it 2 or 3 different times now. It's just a classic, great movie. And it also inspired this.
Ooh, help me, Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Oh, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas.
Number 7, Mary Poppins.
The classic kid's tale about a witch that breaks into a house and forces kids to do chores against their will. Mary Poppins. I might be reading into that a little bit wrong, but this is a classic kids movie that's still shown to kids today. It's just amazing. The effects still hold up. The story is great. It's just a classic, fun kids movie that everyone can enjoy. And it's also just a testament to how one person can completely ruin the British accent.
All right, ladies and gents, comical poem suitable for the occasion, extemporized and thought up before your very eyes.
Number 6, Batman, the movie.
So the cultural tale of this movie is almost as interesting as the movie itself. It was seen as kind of this cheesy, over-hammy movie when it first came out. It began to actually be hated in the 80s and 90s, and now it's known as a beloved, campy, great movie. And it is just fantastic, with so much cheese, with the leaps in logic, the effects, the overall story. It's just so cheesy, but everyone involved is just so into the story. It just can't be helped but loved. It's classic Adam West Batman. If you need like a test of why everyone loves it, see the 1966 movie. It's so good. It's got all your classic villains in it, and just a ridiculous storyline that you can just sit back and just love how silly it is. And this was my introduction to comic book movies as a kid. Like, my parents showed me the 60s Batman, and that's what I wanted to get into at that point. That was my introduction to comics and comic movies. So it's just a classic, and what else can you say?
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Number 5, The Birds.
So I'm probably wrong on this one, but I feel like this is the first nature versus man movie that came out, but it definitely did what Jaws did for sharks, Birds did for birds. There are still people that are freaked out about Birds because of the Birds movie. It's classic Hitchcock. It's such a thriller. And such an interesting storyline of, you don't know what's going on, just these birds just decide to attack everybody, and just the survival aspect, and it freaked people out, and it's just great, and it's, kind of the, if it's not the original, it's kind of the start of, popular culture doing the movies of man versus nature kind of thing, and it's just so well done, classic to our, culture, and just a fantastic movie.
Number 4, Night of the Living Dead.
So not the very first zombie movie, but the first popular zombie movie, George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, is just a classic. It started so much within the zombie genre as well as the horror genre. Inspired slasher movies, up-to-date zombie movies. It started so much of the lore of zombies and a lot of the tropes we see today. The idea of people being stuck in, a small space against some sort of, paranormal activity outside. Not the Paranormal Activity movies, but But yeah, just something going on they don't understand, and the people against that, and a lot of the cultural aspect of, radiation and things like that just really brought into this movie. Just makes it this full-on classic. It's shown every Halloween, and for good reason. This is just a great, amazing, classic horror movie.
Number 3, 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Coming to you from the very far-off land of 2001. Oh, wait. No, this is the pinnacle sci-fi movie. And it's also your sci-fi thriller, but it's also a sci-fi horror. It's just so much built into this movie. Every moment is so important and needed, and just builds into this great story going on. And it dives into a lot of things, like evolution of technology against the evolution of man, which is something we still see today. And it's got one of the scariest villains of all time, who literally has no face and no personality, but is the scariest thing you could ever imagine, at least I think. And I could just go on forever, but somebody doesn't want me to. He can read our lips.
Number 2, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
So I could talk about this movie, but let me give it off to somebody who absolutely adores everything about this movie. Violet Cause, take it away.
In 1963, Stanley Kubrick went into production on an adaptation of Red Alert by Peter George. He was intending to make a straight thriller about the horror and insanity of the Cold War. But it's a testament to the great man's vision that he decided that such a story would be best served as a satire. He brought on board notable author Terry Suffern, and between them the three men were able to craft what is arguably an almost perfect film. It's hilariously funny, but in a way which enhances its anti-war message. It also provokes some of the greatest ever performances from its cast, from Sterling Hayden's deranged General Ripper to the warmongering, commie-obsessed Turgidson played by George C. Scott. And then there's Peter Sellers, who gives us not one, but 3 of his greatest ever turns, including the iconic Doctor himself.
Feel free to follow him on Twitter as well as subscribe to his channel. He is fantastic, by the way. I'll also put some links in the description. But next movie.
Number 1, Psycho.
So my favorite movie of the 1960s, Psycho. It is the start of horror as we know it. It's inspired every horror movie since. It's got so much to do with it. It's so ingrained in our culture. So much about it is just fantastic. It's scary. It's intense. It's everything about it just works, and it's so well done that even when they did a shot-per-shot remake later, it absolutely failed because this is just lightning in a bottle. Everything is just could not have happened any other way than what it did, and it's just such a solid, scary movie that, you know, it's just inspired everything, and it's just the pinnacle of a lot of horror movies as well, serial killer movies. Just so much is done well about this movie. It's just fantastic and my favorite movie of the 1960s. So that was my top 10 list of the 1960s. Funny note, when I was kind of putting this together, is I started noticing some movies, I wasn't sure if I've seen them or if they're just so ingrained in our culture and I've seen so much, you know, parodies and references to them that I think I might have seen them. So that's why things like The Graduate was left off, because I'm not sure if I've seen that and I didn't have time to watch it again before this. But yeah, let me know if I left out any other 60s movies that you think should have been on this list. And I will turn back the Wayback Machine once again to the 1970s. But until then, I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Hold on to your hold slots.